Good. Good. Sorry, I'm David something. Not sure what. I'll figure it out soon.
All right, is everyone ready? Let's say the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, can we get a roll call, Mr. Johnson?
Alderman Travellini. Here. Alderman Gorman.
Here.
Alderman Peters.
Here.
Alderman Odenwald.
Here.
Alderwoman Reeves.
Here.
You have a quorum, Mr. Mayor.
Okay, next on the agenda is B, the approval of minutes for the Board of Aldermen work session, February 25th, 2020. Has everybody read those? Any changes needed or comments? Hearing none, do we give a motion to approve those minutes?
Motion to approve the minutes. Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, next. I hate doing this, this is the worst. Maybe leave our bills this month? All right, so the bills for this month. We've got Gulf States Distribution. This is police for ammunition of $2,859. Net for Mark's IT support for $5,000. Heidemann Associates, this is that site survey for the parks for the grant itself at $3,187. And for the St. Louis County Election Board, for county election coming up on April 7th, it's $3,932.88. And lastly is the Bank of New York Mellon, the series 2007 bonds, $540,000. General obligation bond.
It's a big one.
Yeah. For the grand total of $554,979.38. Any question about those bills? Hearing none, can I get a motion to approve?
Motion to approve.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? And D, we have now here citizens. So, come on down. All I need you to do is come into the dais or to the microphone here, give me your name and your address, and then please.
You have to forgive me. I'm Patrice Russo. It's 7222 Nottingham.
Thank you, ma'am.
I'm not feeling too good. Anyway, I sent you all a letter. I don't know if you received it or not. I also sent the building commissioners a letter just explaining our side because I feel like nobody's listened to our side. Nobody even bothered to do any kind of study with the neighbors or anything. That just baffles me. And now I have to spend a lot of time with this, and I don't feel like I'm really getting anywhere. I'd much rather be with my grandchildren. I'd much rather be smelling the roses and doing my gardening. But because I have lived in Shrewsbury for 65 years, 42 in Nottingham, I have this desire to fight for the city. You know, it could be me, it could be somebody else. I'd still stand up for what I believe the city should be. And there's always been a great place. Anyway, and the other thing is not only the time, but now the money that we have to spend putting up a privacy fence so that we don't have to look at 3 fences, men working back there, weeds everywhere, the drain not working. I mean, I could go on, but now my husband and I are retired, we're on a fixed income, now we gotta figure out how we're gonna pay for a privacy fence. On a good note, I'm part of the STIR program, and I have to say this has really shown me what a great neighborhood we have, how people have pulled together and we support one another and we care about each other. And I think if there was ever a disaster, God forbid, then we would pull together. And I really learned that, and I plan on sharing that with the members of the STIR team.
Thank you.
Joe Russo, Teresa, my wife, is 7222 Nottingham. And what I'm here is to ask for help from the Board of Aldermen to relook at this again and see what it's caused to the back of the neighborhood, our backyards back there. You come out and you're gonna see this 8-foot fence. You're gonna have men working back there. And by the way, I think they're building a road back there too, aren't they? There's a gravel road coming out of the corner from what I've seen on the plate that they submitted. That it's actually going out and then looks like, because they're supposed to come and pick up shade trees right behind where they're gonna, I assume, lean them against that fence. And I don't know how often they're gonna be back there. It says once a month, but I don't believe that. They're gonna be back there whenever they need to be back there. You know, if I'd amended it here, you know, points like this, this was bill number 2966. They notice on the western, it says the western side of the building must be moved near the property line along St. Vincent. They had them do that after this bill was approved. This is something else they wanted them to do. And then number 4, it says the property owner must adequately buffer fencing with vegetation in order to blend into the site as much as practicable and effective. Now, basically, this is the same thing we're asking for them to do on our side. There needs to be some kind of buffering, and we're comfortable with it. You know, as far as him working with us, he never really worked with anybody. He got it passed, then came back in here and basically said, it's this or that. See you later, and never heard from him again. He was supposed to make another phone call back. My wife met him the first time, and a lot of people met him the first time. He was supposed to call back. He called some people back, some people he never called back. We're gonna have that 8-inch, that even, I know what he's gonna do. He's probably gonna spray it with something to kill it. If I put up a new vinyl fence, I don't know what that's gonna do to my fence. All that stuff's gonna be trapped in there. Second of all, there's a lot of trees there. There's gonna be a lot of leaves dropping down in between that gap. And nobody said how they're gonna take care of it. All I've heard is they're gonna take care of it. But I don't know how they're gonna take care of it. In the meantime, right now, they're working. They had bobcats and that running through there. So they killed all the vegetation. They wiped out the swell that was supposed to be in there. It's just wiped out. If we have a rain, all that stuff's gonna keep washing down. It's washing, as you know, it's washing out people's lawns now. I mean, when they do a construction site that big and they're running heavy equipment, they usually have those rolls of straw they lay down, so if it rains, it doesn't all wash into everybody's backyard or down. None of that's been taken care of. Then on this bill it says, in consideration of the effects of foregoing factors would contribute to and promote the health, safety, morals, and general welfare of the people of the city in accordance with the accomplishments of the comprehensive plan of the city. And then B says, will be desirable or necessary to the public convenience. I don't know if that's really necessary for the public convenience. I mean, we've got nurseries everywhere. And will be harmonious and compatible with other uses adjacent to and in the vicinity of the selected site. I don't think that's harmonious or compatible with our residents right there. So what I'm asking is if the board would reconsider this and work with the citizens to find out a solution that works good for everybody. That's about all I have. I mean, I've been meeting with Jonathan and with the mayor for a number of weeks and passing information on to everybody in the neighborhood. But the thing is, if they did a good study, we wouldn't have so many people that are upset. And that's another point. I mean, I could go on longer, but thank you for your time.
Thank you.
My name's Stuart Pfeiffer, and I agree with Joe.
Stuart, where are you from?
Nottingham,
Number?
7230.
Thank you.
And I agree with Joe, Tricia, and that I've heard. Problem is when they bring it in, the plants, the shrubs, and the trees will probably be in burlap sacks, I assume. But that's the problem, is they're making assumptions of what's going to be done, how many trees, shrubs, and bushes are they going to keep back there? Are they going to fill them in? How are they going to fill them in? Will they use mulch? Will they bury the pots? You know, I mean, there's different ways of doing that. How many will they put in there? The more they put in, the more problems you'll have with runoff. Then if you're using mulch, and they're going to have to keep them wet, because otherwise in summer they'll die, which means mosquitoes, which is a problem. Then you will still have a certain amount will die. Then come in the fall or any other time that, let's say, the fire department has to get into there. How are they going to do it? Are they going to cross our properties to get to a situation that arises in that area back there behind the building, in between our property lines? Because that's dependent upon how many trees, shrubs, and bushes they have there. So I see different problems with just assumptions. And that's, from what I've seen, it's been assumptions. There's no written down, this is what we're going to do. The guy, Brian, that called me and said, we're going to just put in some shrubs, bushes, and plants potted for storage back there. That's what it was, and it's like, that's why we need a 7-foot-high fence to keep them from stealing them. And, you know, it's like, okay, you got a 7-foot-high fence in our backyards, 7-foot-high fence along St. Vincent and Wild, but you're going to put shrubs and bushes planted for an aesthetic value along those two streets for the residents of Shrewsbury. But the residents at the back of them, we don't count. It's like, you're nobody. We can have a 7-foot-high fence, and I realized that Alicia had gone to remove the barbed wire off the top of the prison fence, because that's what I call it, prison, at the back of our yards. But is that in writing that they'll keep that off of there? And they come back later. And when you're doing with the permit that they have, later, you know, what can they come along and keep doing? What can they put back there? Is there any other restrictions? Because this is a verbal thing that he told me. Can they add more stuff back there if they want to store? Is there any restrictions on that? These are major concerns, and these can affect us in our property values if not adequately taken care of, which will affect more people's property values in the neighborhood. So, consideration of where we're at, and, you know, I'm not against them being there or having their business. It's the unknown, the assumptions that should have been addressed in the very beginning, and they should have come to us in the beginning and knocked on our doors or sent us a letter, instead of afterwards, after the fact, come up and say, hey, we're going to put a fence up, we'd like your authorization and a signature. If you could do it then, could have done it in the beginning and eliminated the problem. That would have been a good neighbor. And that's all we ask. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
I'm Erica Sheepwidow, 7226 Nottingham. Over the last 2 months, we've spent significant time and energy trying to make our voices count in regard to the Allen Outdoor Solutions fence issue. After repeated attempts to do so, we have gained absolutely no ground and are left feeling that we have been steamrolled by the very people who should be standing up for us. In Steve Allen's own words, we discussed options and felt a privacy fence would not be the best option as it would limit the homeowner's view of his property, or what exactly would that be limiting? I'm confused by that. This particular statement shows that our opinions were not taken into consideration because we would have much rather had a privacy fence than a landscaping company's storage area to look at. Without a privacy fence, we now have unrestricted visual access to our yards and homes by workers that we know nothing about. Who can guarantee my and my children's safety from these strangers that are now right at my backyard? They've already been overheard making lewd comments and being inappropriate while working behind our homes. Steve Allen says we have a crime problem in the area, and he's just trying to secure his property. But if crime was such an issue, why has he established his company not once, but twice in Shrewsbury city limits? I'm sure some of you see my Facebook post and the resulting comments that show that the residents of Nottingham are not alone with this. We keep hearing that they went above and beyond and that Shrewsbury did everything they could, and it's simply not true. The very least that could have been done is to notify the residents directly affected by this huge change to the neighborhood. And for whatever reason, no one thought to do that. I can't imagine any one of you would have wanted this happening to your property and feel that no one attempted to put themselves in our shoes before making this decision. After holding out for a house in this area specifically, I am left feeling like as a resident, our voices do not matter. I sincerely hope the process for these decisions is overhauled and meant for the benefit of the residents and not for a company who is only invested for the purpose of their business and not as a resident himself. Thank you.
Thank you.
My name is Mike Dressler. I live at 7229 Nottingham. I live on the other side of the street. Here to back my neighbors who are on the other side that are having this going on. Many of them who have been there as long as we have, over 30 years, and new neighbors that have come in and had to go by what the ruling is. The one thing I wanted to bring up, about 30 years ago, and I'm not update on the building codes or anything of that sort, but when I built my deck, it said that any new structure that was within 5 feet of the people on either side had to be notified in writing within 100 yards of where that was going, or 100 feet or something of that sort, from the building of the fence or whatever was going to be built. I did not receive anything, and I don't think my neighbors received anything. I think that would have been just even a gracious and respectful thing to do to the people that are around there, just to let them know that what was going on and how things were going to go. Then we may not have had to have this meeting tonight. We would have said, hey, let's do it or let's not do it. I think it's a shame that you have people with fences and then another 12 inches, you got another fence. I think that's crazy. And if you're building something to keep people from looking in, why build a cyclone fence? Why not put up the privacy fence? So that's all I want to say, and I think you ought to reconsider this.
Thanks, Mike. Thank you.
My name's Barb Dressler. I live with Mike at 7229 Nottingham. I have a couple questions. Mike mentioned the letter from years ago that would go to the neighbors from something new was coming up. Did that happen this time, or is that no longer necessary?
I don't know specifically the thing that he was referencing, but it sounds like it would be a setback, breach variance request, which would be a different matter.
Okay, and on Weil Street, you know, above St. Vincent, not Weil Street, St. Vincent's, the fence there, is that gonna be a chain link fence?
Yes.
Do you think that's really a good idea? I mean, do you think that aesthetically is really a nice idea? In a neighborhood like that, I mean, the point made where you all wouldn't like it probably if it was gonna be at your house, please reconsider this. That's gonna be nasty. And I don't even know what this is. Is it a nursery that's going in? Is there gonna be any traffic?
Thing.
Okay. I would like to also say that the driveway that's coming off of St. Vincent's, that's like that's on a hill. Y'all, if you pull in and out, that's gonna become a problem for both traffic, both ways. And I assume that we were told about this through the Kirkwood Webster Times, is that correct? Okay. I don't read it, and I think you ought to reconsider. I mean, I read it sometimes, but the only thing I want to say about that is that's the Kirkwood Webster. It's not the Kirkwood Webster Shrewsbury Times. I know that they have editorials in there, and people send in their opinions, but and they have the police report and all that stuff. But I don't read that newspaper. We found out about this after it was a done deal. We only found out about it about a week ago. We had no idea it was happening. So, you know, please, build community. That's what this is really about. This is really what this is about. You know, just think about it. Do something to bring people closer together instead of making it difficult for people. Thanks.
Well, good evening. My name is Charlie Schwartz. I live at 5020 DeVille. My in-laws, Joe and Patrice Russo, live right on Nottingham. You know, I was thinking about this hard last night in preparation for coming here, and I apologize for being late. It's that thing called work that gets in the way once in a while. And what I kept thinking about over and over was a gentleman that's on the panel here and on the board, Keith, shows up to everything. Is a gentleman that lady on our street had a heart attack. Nobody could get a hold of family. He was the first one to show up with Captain O and the rest of the Shrewsbury Fire Department. And I kept thinking about that over and over. I see him at every event. I see him at every function. I see him whether it's a St. Mike's function, a Shrewsbury function, and I thought to myself, well, that's why we chose to live here, was the community aspect. I work in corporate America. I've been doing that for 20 years. I am all about companies prospering. I'm all about companies investing in their township. But at the same time, when I looked at this, what I couldn't understand from all the writings and everything that was brought up is, what was the sole purpose of it? What I thought as a board that you all might do, and if you did, I apologize if I'm speaking out of turn, but why wouldn't you have maybe approached the residents and said, hey, could we come to a common ground of investment? Which means we as the city of Shrewsbury could have had skin in the game. You as an owner of a home could have had skin in the game. And Mr. Allen, who, hey, I respect, he invests in our soccer tournaments, things up at St. Mike's, invests in the backyard of Shrewsbury, and for that, I'll respect them all day long. But why not make it more of what has made Shrewsbury great, a community-involved decision? This looks like more of like eminent domain versus anything, where it was a power of a company coming in saying this is what we're going to do, period. And of course, whoever made the decision to approve it, and it's just been shoved through the pipeline. So as many others that are here tonight, what I would ask you to do is consider what makes this area great and what makes us want to raise our children, keep our families here, and continue to invest in our own backyard. I mean, after all, we've got the sign out there. It says Shrewsbury, it's home. It doesn't mean it's home for people to just come in and throw up whatever they want. We've got an active board here. You ladies and gentlemen take the time out of your careers, away from your families. You're busting your backsides to do what you're here to do. So I would just ask you that you hear us loud and clear, that if decisions like this are going to be made in the future and even currently, why can't we have a collaborative effort versus it just being somebody that just says, hey, I'm either doing this and I'm building this fence or my company's out of here. And I don't want to put words in Mr. Allen's mouth. Maybe that's not what he said, but that's just kind of the feeling I believe that a lot of us have as residents. And again, Keith, love you, brother. You're a good man. You are a great man. Thank you very much, Charlie.
Thanks, Charlie. Appreciate it.
Hi, good evening. My name is Anna Bischoff. I'm at 7228 Nottingham, and I've only lived here for 4.5 pretty wonderful years, coming from the city. It's great to be able to walk around the neighborhood with that, at night with my dog without having to carry pepper spray. So, I love this neighborhood. I love my neighbors. I've gotten to know them a lot more recently. But I do have to voice concerns with this process. Let me start by giving an example, a story about Tower Key. Recently, they are getting to redevelop their land again to repurpose it for its recreational purpose. They came across a problem. They said they realized that somewhere between the time they lost their property and got it back, that something about their driving range was kind of now within too close of a range to their neighbors. They had to put up some sort of barrier to prevent golf balls from going through windows. So what they did was they reached out to those neighbors and said, hey, here are some options we're thinking of. What are your thoughts? Let's get some input here. That's what good corporate neighbors do. What happened here is I see a theme. There's a lack of transparency, a lack of cooperation and good faith, a lack of fairness and redress, a lack of accountability, a lack of common sense, frankly, and a lack of anything that's really coming out of this in any way, shape, or form from my neighbor and I. Going to the lack of transparency, I understand that the bare minimum was met according to our municipal code in terms of the process. We've already talked about how the notice provision, and as an attorney I can understand putting public notice in a newspaper, that's a general norm across the board, but nobody reads newspapers anymore in paper print. Everybody takes their news online. I don't even know which color the red or clear plastic bag, which one's the coupons and which one's the paper. I throw them in a recycling. And I'm sure a lot of my neighbors are probably, and along all across Shrewsbury, are along that same line. So let's suffice to say that the notice provision in the code is outdated. We were never given any chance to even look at these plans. I didn't get my hands on them until maybe a month ago, thanks to Elisa, who was able to get them for us and advocate on our behalf to at least have the documentation to see what these plans are. Even if we were able to attend the planning commissions and the Board of Aldermen meetings, all it was in the notice was we're going to think about or consider a special use permit for Allen Landscaping, but there was no notice to us, but there was also no publishing of the plans. There was no way we could even review what was proposed to be able to see if we were good with it or not, or if we wanted to speak up against it. That's a lack of transparency in the process, and I don't put any of that on the officials here or the volunteer planning commission. They did follow what the local code says, but that needs to change and there needs to be redress, frankly. We noticed, once we did get our hands on this documentation, we realized that there are violations currently going on with regard to those stipulations that were put in approval of the SUP process. So our first step was to email Mr. Reaver and say, can we hit the pause button? What's the step to bring this back to the planning commission to revisit this? I was basically told that there's no redress, and amongst other neighbors, we were told we basically have to file a lawsuit to stop this, and that a lot of the neighbors are misinterpreting the municipal code because they don't understand statutory construction. Well, I have a law degree and